Hello, my name is Bob Johnston. It's my pleasure to have Dr. Daniel Shayesteh with me today. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning to you, Bob.
This is the first episode of a series of interviews called Islam Under Scrutiny. Daniel was raised as a Muslim in northern Iran. By early adulthood, he had identified with radical Islam and had taken an active part in the overthrow of the Shah of Iran. But within a year or two, the Khomeini regime had turned against Daniel. He was tried and even sentenced to death. However, he managed to escape Iran and he fled to Turkey, where he began to question Islam. By reason and by open inquiry, he discovered the values of Christ and eventually became a follower of Jesus. Our topic today is that Islam just pretends to be perfect. Devoted Muslims often refer to Islam as the last and perfect religion. They say that their prophet, Muhammad, is the last and perfect prophet. Daniel, what do Muslims actually mean by perfect? Is there any evidence that you, looking back on your time as a practicing Muslim, or Muslims in general, use to support such a claim?
Bob, Muslim scholars haven't been able to give a sound definition for their claim according to the Quran. This is because they haven't been able to extract a perfect God or a perfect Muhammad, a perfect leadership style, or a perfect model of life from the Quran. They have made Islam like a giant balloon filled with nothing but air or exaggeration. And they hang on to it as long as their followers are kept in darkness. Only when they are face to face with someone, especially with a non-Muslim who knows about Islam, and that giant balloon gets burst. That's why many Muslims have been leaving Islam in last decades.
That raises another question for me. Muhammad himself acknowledged his sin and his uncertainty as to whether he was good enough to get to heaven. So where did this claim about perfection actually come from?
Muhammad was brought up in an exaggerating pagan culture, a culture that calls you God. Calling someone God is the most exaggerating thing. And also life has proven that people who thirst for power, who are illiterate, and their followers are kept in darkness, they exaggerate a lot. Exaggerating is very popular among these people. And Muhammad had all these characteristics. He thirsted for power, and for this reason, with looting caravans, he made a fortune, established a strong army, and invaded all the surrounding pagans who were mostly illiterate people, and forced them to accept him as the most perfect religion of the, perfect religion of Islam. And also he used this word perfect as a weapon against those who opposed him or did not join Islam. He denigrated them, and that has been the culture, ruling over Islamic societies for 1400 years since the rise of Islam. So that's the reason of exaggeration in Islam. It started with exaggeration, and it is still ruling.
Are you saying then that this claim is really just an aspiration, a hope, totally without justification? And if this is the case, then what is the evidence that challenges the claim that Islam is the perfect religion?
The evidence is in the Quran. And this is really the best way for us to open the eyes of Muslims. Quran is the very reason, to speak against that perfection. I give you a few examples. For example, Quran says Allah designed sin and corruption in eternity and inspired in Satan and the humankind in creation. Creating sin and corruption is sin itself. So it says that Allah is sinner. A sinning God cannot be called perfect. And therefore, his religion, his product, and whatever he makes and creates is not perfect. So you see, Quran is the very evidence for that. Quran also says that a husband can beat his wife. I just give you a social, example of that. Is beating your wife the sign of perfection and treating him like an animal, or loving her? Quran again says that nobody has any right of saying when Muhammad decides. This is a dictatorship. Nobody can call dictatorship perfect. You see, these are the examples, and that's why we really need to challenge Muslims and Muslim scholars with the Quran itself and tell them that their claim is nothing but just exaggeration.
So what would you want to say to Muslims who make the claim that their religion is perfect?
I would challenge their consciences in a way that the gospel of Jesus Christ does. I would say to them, look, as an adjective, perfect means having all good elements, qualities, characteristics. As a living thing like us, humankind, means she or he is faultless and is characterized with, good thinking, speaking, and actions. This is the simplest definition. People do not need to be educated to understand the simplest and widely accepted definition in all over the world for perfection. And Allah misses this characteristic. As I mentioned, he's the creator of sin and corruption, and he is not perfect, and therefore his religion cannot be called perfect.
Well, thank you, Daniel, for sharing your insights with us today. There's certainly plenty of food for thought in what you've said in response to my questions. And if those who are listening found this interview helpful, please take the time to press the like button below. If you'd like, you can also subscribe to this channel. Please tune in for future interviews with Daniel Shayesteh. There are numerous playlists on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye. If you want to ask questions about Dr. Daniel's responses, please place them in the comments section below the video. We will select questions from here for our Q&A program on this same YouTube channel in about 2 weeks. And visit the Exodus from Darkness website at exodusfromdarkness.org.